Hi, I'm Andrew,
And I'm Sam.
and we're NB Board Gaming, and today we're going to be taking a look at Wingspan, uh, which encompasses a whole lot of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're mainly going to be focusing, I think, on Wingspan Asia, the new
Mhm.
expansion slash standalone game.
Mhm.
I don't have the Asia box because we got the nesting box, so I'm just showing off Wingspan as a whole. But while we talk about this new addition to the game of Wingspan, we'll also hit on the base game because they're very similar. Um,
Mhm.
and we won't really touch on the expansions too much, but just kind of consider this as a overall encapsulating review for Wingspan.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to play, and I'll point out the differences that Wingspan Asia versus regular Wingspan base game. And that's all I'm going to hit on during the teacher slash overview, and then we'll come back and give you our final thoughts. All right. All right. So for Wingspan, I am going to, for this teach, I'm going to focus mainly on the newest uh, expansion slash standalone game, which is Wingspan Asia. And so, but there's not going to be, I'll go over the differences between this and regular Wingspan. There's not a ton. The game is going to play pretty much the exact same whether you play Asia or just the normal base game. So I'll jump in and give you the gist overview of how the game is going to work. And then at the end, I'll tell you, hey, this is in Asia, this is not in Asia, that kind of stuff. All right. So we'll jump in. So I've already set up a game. This is what you're going to look like. You're going to have your little central board that players are going to be competing over. You're also going to have your own player board that's going to have these yin yang symbols on them, tokens on them. You are going to start with 5 cards in your hand and one of each of the beginning resources. And what players have to do is they have to discard down. So you can only collectively keep 5 cards or 5 food tokens. All right. So I might have to get rid of, let's go with, let's say I did this. I kept these 2 birds and I discarded these other ones. And I kept, let's say I got to keep 3. So let's say I kept these 3 food tokens and I put these other 2 back. So collectively, you're only going to keep 5. Okay. You are also going to receive 2 gold cards at the beginning, and they are going to tell you how you're going to keep these secret. These are not public, but they're going to tell you things to achieve in order to score some extra points. So, for example, this first one here on cartographer is birds with geography terms in their name. Okay, so they've have America, Asia, Atlantic, something like that. You are going to score points towards this card. Or for the other example I have here is that if I have consecutive birds in my water terrain here, I have to make sure that they are in ascending or descending scores. Okay, and you're going to score based on how many of those you have. All right, so that's how that's going to work. You'll just pick one. So let's say I kept this one, got rid of that one. All right, so that's pretty much how you're going to set it up. This is what setup's going to look like. And on your turn, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be taking one of 4 actions, right? So you have these little cubes, and as you play, you will have less cubes, so you'll be taking less actions, but you're going to be building up your board. So you are trying to get birds to come to your aviary, all right? So of the actions you can take, there are 4. The first one, I'm just going to go straight down the list here, is going to be play a bird. So you're going to take your little cube, you're going to come over here, and you are going to play a bird where you're going to look at your hand, and you are going to play one of these birds to your board. All right. In order to do that, you just have to pay the food costs that you're going to see on the cards. So some might have a wild or a specific kind of food. Some might just need one food. You don't have to pay all of it. It's kind of your choice. Some might require no food depending on what their food requirements are. So you'll pay those. So let's say I wanted to play this one here. I would have to pay either a caterpillar, a fish, or a rat. So I will pay the caterpillar. And I will play it here in my water terrain. So you have 3 different terrains. You have the green, yellow, and water. And so I know they have actual names for each of the terrain, I guess, biome, whatever you want to call them that they want to live in. But I just go green, yellow, blue. All right. So this one's blue. You go to your furthest left that doesn't have a bird. So since this is the first one, we're going to go here. I already paid the food. And when you play this here, you're going to take the yin yang token that you have, and you'll be able to play it to this board. All right. But since I played it in the water, I have to put this in on a space in the water. And I can go anywhere. I don't have to come in from the edge. I can go anywhere I want. I just have to meet the requirements. So for example, this bird has this type of nest. Hopefully you can see that. And so I can't, for example, put it on this nest because it doesn't match my card. So I have to make sure whatever space I use to cover up, I can, it's going to match the card that I played, right? So since I played a caterpillar, I could cover up a caterpillar there. I could not cover up the fish because I didn't pay a fish, right? I could play here where the wingspan is 50 centimeters or more. His is 95. And so I could put there. I could put it here and get a bonus. So some of these are going to have bonuses depending on where you go. So if I get this, that means I get a bonus of a card. All right. And why you're going to want to be doing this? Because throughout the game, you're going to be earning points based on end of round scoring. And each round is going to have a unique goal for it. So in the first round in this example is that you're going to be looking at who has the most of these tokens that are not on the edge of the board. So I might not want to put this out here on the edge because it's not going to help me score for this round. And as you see as we go on, it's going to be how many of these tokens you have in the yellow area or who has the fewest on bonus spaces. So something to consider for future rounds. And the most that has them on a nesting type. So if I want to be in the center, I want to have fewest bonus places, I want to be on the nest, maybe this is the perfect one because I'm not in the center, I don't have a bonus, and I am going to be on one of those nests. So that's going to be perfect. Boom, end of my turn, right? Another action you're going to be able to take is going to be gaining food. So at the very beginning, you'll take your cube here, and you'll see you're going to get one of these dice for food. You just select one, and you will take that food type. Now, if you go to select food, and there's only one type of food on the board, you can, before choosing, select to re-roll all the dice to have a new supply. Well, that would be unfortunate to roll that, but you do have more options now. And then you can choose one of the new dice that were rolled. Okay. And as you are upgrading on your board and getting more and more birds, your actions are going to get stronger. Eventually, you'll be able to take 2, you'll be able to take 3, and some spaces even let you pay a card in order to take an additional food dice. All right. And as you're putting out these birds, you're going to see that birds have abilities. And so if I had played this bird, for example, here, when I took this food action, I would get my food from the supply, and then I would move the cube to the left, and I'd be able to activate every bird that has a brown ability when I take the gain food action. So this one would let me cache a food on this bird, so I would get a food from my supply, right, on any bird. And if I would, I can then tuck one card from my hand behind this bird, because at the end of the game, every food that you have cached on birds is going to be worth a point, and every card that you have tucked behind birds is going to be worth a point. So this is a great way to earn additional points, okay? Because you're going to get points from caching food, tucking cards. The birds themselves are going to give you points. You're going to get points from the central board, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of points here, okay? So that's going to be the gain food action, right? Another action you can take is going to be laying eggs. So as the very beginning, I'm only going to get 2 eggs. And I can place these on any birds. I just have to make sure that I don't exceed the limit of eggs for the bird that I'm placing on. So for example, this bird can only take 2 eggs. So I could put both of them on here, but in a future turn, I could not add a 3rd egg to that bird because it would exceed their carrying limit. So they can't have more than 2. All right. And again, you would activate any birds that you would have in that row. And then finally, the last action that you'll be able to do is going to be draw bird cards. Okay. So if I take the draw bird card action, I can, let me replenish this real quick. I can choose any of the birds that are on the display here that are available, or I can always top deck. And let's say I was able to draw 3 cards further on, right? I could choose any that are available or top deck. I don't have to take them all from the top of the deck. I don't have to take them all from the display. I can kind of mix and match. However, if I do take from the display, it doesn't refill automatically. You'll have to wait until after you've taken all your birds and then it will refill. Okay? And again, each of these columns, these actions that you're going to be taking, you're going to have an option at certain points in order to discard maybe a food for an extra egg or an egg for an extra card. Okay? And you'll be, again, activating your birds as you move the cube from right to left. Okay, so your cube will always go to the rightmost available space that you don't have a bird, and then it'll make its way to the left, activating birds as necessary. Okay, and you do them in order. All right, so after you've gone and you've taken more food and played more birds and laid more eggs and drawn more cards, right, it might look like something like this. Then, once everybody is done, you are going to check at the end of the first round and see who has achieved the most, in this case, tokens that are not on the edge of the map. Okay? Whoever has the most is going to get 2 points. Whoever does not gets 0 points. And then you will leave your cubes here. So I would go there. The second player, because this is the duet mode, so this is just a 2-player way to play the game, will go here at the bottom, right? Then you remove all of your cubes. And then next time, you're only going to have 7 actions. And as you go on, you'll have 6. And then you'll eventually have 5 at the end for the 4th round. So you're going to have less and less actions. However, your actions are going to get stronger as you are playing birds out onto your board. And they're going to give you additional abilities and help you achieve more points. Okay? So that's pretty much how the game is going to work. You're playing birds, you're gaining food to play birds, laying eggs, because eventually, when you go to play birds, you're going to have to pay eggs. There is a cost at the top. As you get further right on your board, you're going to have to pay eggs in order to play that bird. So in order for me to have played this one, I would have to spend 1 egg to play that bird. Okay? So that is how it is going to work. At the end of the game, I'd already told you you're going to get points for your birds. You're going to get points for food that might be cached on birds. You'll get points for cards that are tucked under birds. You will also get points for eggs that are on birds. And you'll still be getting points here for your end of round goals. And in this duet mode, you're also going to get points for your largest contiguous group of tokens on the board. So my black yin yang tokens that I have on the central board, whichever the largest group is, I'm going to get 1 point for each of those tokens in my largest contiguous group. Okay, so that is how it's going to work. You'll be building this up. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to win. All right, so hopefully that gives you a real brief overview of how the game is played. Let me real quickly tell you what the differences are between this duet mode that is specifically only for 2 players and regular base game Wingspan, which 2 players is just going to be a regular game, right? So in regular Wingspan, you do not have any of these yin yang tokens. They are all gone. Okay, you do not have those. You do not have this central board. They are also going to be gone. And you won't have the goals obviously go with the yin yangs. You'll have different ones. So in a normal regular game of Wingspan that you can also play at 2 players, you're just going to have this goal board, right? And you're going to have different goals that you're going to be going for. It might be the most birds with a certain kind of nest. It might be the most birds with a certain kind of nest that have eggs on them, or in a certain area on your board, or whatever it may be. There are tons of these goals you can do, and you have a more competitive and more friendly way to do these, okay? So depending on which side of the board, it could be more competitive based on who has the most. And this is just going to be based on how many you have. You get 1 point for each that you have, that kind of thing. All right. So you can change that up. But that's literally going to be the only thing that's going to be any different is those yin yang tokens and that new central board. Okay. The gameplay is the exact same. You have the exact same 4 actions, right? You're still going to have goals. You're just not going to have a board that goes along with it. And you can play this way at 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, all the way up to the player count. This is how you would play the game. All right. So Asia just adds this new duet board, which is a very viable way to play at 2 players as well. So again, very similar. Not a whole lot's changed other than that one board that gets added in. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how the game's played and how you're going to score. Let's go ahead and take it back up top, and we'll give you guys our final thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Andrew, for showing us how to play. So why don't you tell me, what are your positives for, well, since we're giving an overview of, everything, what would you say are your positives for Wingspan in general?
Well, I feel like if you're watching this review, Wingspan's been out for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I just kind of realized like we haven't done a review on Wingspan.
Yeah.
And just so you know, this is, I don't think I said this in the intro, but this is designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, and it is published by Stonemaier Games. And Elizabeth Hargrave does all the art in the game as well. And so, jumping into my positives, so Wingspan, as you can see in the teach and the overview, Wingspan and Wingspan Asia are play the exact same way. The only difference is that central yin yang board, right? Because it's a 2-player. The duet mode is a 2-player mode. Even though the base game plays really well at 2 players, so I didn't think there was a problem with the base game at 2 players anyway. So I think generally as a whole, if you want to go with Wingspan Asia, or if you just want to go with regular Wingspan, they both play good at 2 players. Yeah. But that central board that does come with Wingspan Asia, I actually really enjoy. I thought it gave me a little added bonus to think about what birds I wanted to put out. If I wanted in my grassland or a waterland, that kind of stuff, and maybe try to go for some of those bonuses, but then also trying to create a cluster of my tokens because I would be able to score points at the end of the game for those. So I did like that extra, almost like little mini game that was off to the side. I mean, you still had goals that you were going for and everything, but I really did like that in Wingspan Asia. So I do like that. So that's a big positive. I think just being able to say production for this game is really great. The different colored eggs. I don't have anything updated or upgraded, I should say, but the 3D dice tower is really nice that comes in the game. And I think if you just get Asia, you don't get the dice tower, just so you know. But like everything is really just looks really nice. The art is beautiful. So a lot of positives there with the production. The gameplay is very streamlined. I like the gameplay because you start off with like 8 cubes, and as the game goes on, you have less actions, but each of those actions are stronger, right? Because at the beginning, you might be just taking 1 food, or you might just be laying 1 egg. Whereas by the end, yes, you have fewer actions, but those actions are a lot stronger, and you're triggering a lot of bird abilities. So I like that I like that because I feel like the turns
they're building.
Right, you're building up, and you might be able to combo some really cool things. So those are some good positives for me. What about you? What are some positives for you?
I do love, I think with the Asia expansion, I do love the whole yin yang thing. I thought was a cool idea. It does like have some variety too, as far as like objectives that you're going for. Those are new each time. I mean, in the base game they are too, but I think it just adds like some extra to it. I think it's cool, putting your little symbols out there, your yin yangs, to like, get the, clusters and just different ways to be able to score points and be able to just make it a little different than the base game. And I'm not like I think as far as like the the base game. I love Wingspan, but I'm not like a huge bird person or anything like that. But
Mm,
I think it's cool just the fact that they have like every bird imaginable, and that you can just put a collection of different birds, whether it's like water types or whatever your objective is that you're going for.
mhm,
I think the game is, I love the art. I think the game is very straightforward, very easy to play. I think it's a game too that is like fun to play. And that it's something that, it plays very fast. Um,
right,
and I do like the way that it does build, and everybody's board is different. So it's like, you may be focusing on a specific type of bird or whatever your objective is. But I think there's a lot of replayability with Wingspan. And that's why I do enjoy it. I feel like every time I play it, it is different. And the components, like you touched on, are really cool.
mhm.
I like, the eggs that you
Just
can
don't
put
eat
on
them. They
them.
look like candy. Don't eat the
They do.
eggs.
They do. Yeah, they look like candy. And I think the little birdhouse, dice tray, like you said, that's cool too. But you said that did not come
It doesn't come in the base
separate.
game Wingspan Asia. They just have like a board that you put the food dice on. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
as exciting as you have to watch it tumble down kind of thing.
Yeah.
But still nice. I mean,
Yeah.
for just a two-player game, I mean, you don't need a ton of stuff, and it's a small box, so it takes
Right.
if you go with Wingspan Asia.
I
So
think it's cute too. I mean, it's funny. Like I feel like playing the game, it can there can be funny moments because you have these ridiculous like birds, like just they have funny names and stuff. So it's cool to just, like have some fun in the game in that way,
and
just
they,
like
they have an
goofy.
app to where you can literally scan every single I this would make the game super long, but you can literally scan the bird cards and you can hear what
Oh,
that bird
right.
sounds like.
Yeah.
I used it and then I got rid of it. Obviously, I never use it during a game, but it's just silly fun that you can add
If
into
you
the
really
game if you
like
want.
birds, I mean, you can go ahead and do that because
Right?
that would probably be exciting.
You could probably become an expert on birds, like the
Yeah.
wingspan, the general, like as they have all the little information on the cards. You can memorize the sounds.
I had a
I don't know.
professor in college that loved birds, and I feel like that's all she talked about
Oh,
instead of what we were supposed to be talking about in
should
class.
tell her about this game.
I know, right?
So, okay, how about negatives? Do you have any negatives for the game?
um, I would not even really like a negative. I guess it's just, towards the end of the game, like you more of like it's like a challenge because, the further along you get, the more cubes you or the less cubes you have,
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the game. So you have to be very strategic and think very hard about how you want to use those actions towards the end of the game because you've
Mm-hmm.
only got so many actions. So you're like, oh, and the cubes obviously are your actions. So you have to really think about that. So it's probably just more of like that's the challenge part of it and not necessarily a negative. I can't really, like I said, like I like Wingspan, so I can't really find any negatives.
Right. For me, I think if I'm thinking just about a wingspan as a whole, so if you have wingspan, you have Asia. Now you can play wingspan with up to like 7 players.
Mm,
I will never do that. That will never
yeah.
be a thing. It will never happen. Yes, turns can be kind of snappy, but I would much rather have like, okay, we'll play a game of 3 or 4 player wingspan. The other half of the group will play something else and we could switch or get 2 copies of the game or whatever, just because 7 is just so much. And I have no interest whatsoever in exploring that part of the game.
Right.
If I'm just focusing on Wingspan Asia, the one thing I'll say is that other than that central board, yes, there's new birds, but there's not really a whole lot of new stuff that gets brought into it. Other than
Mm-hmm.
that central board with the yin yang, that duet mode, it doesn't really add a whole lot other than just more birds, which if you already have wingspan, that would be nice, but you're not getting
Mm-hmm.
new abilities really like I know if you get Europe or Oceania, you're adding in the different end of rounds and between rounds, those kind of abilities that get added in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not getting like a bunch of new stuff per se, but the new birds are nice to have. And I do like about, I know I'm supposed to be talking about negatives, but so yeah, it doesn't add a whole lot other than that board. But I will say that at 2 players, I think Wingspan Asia is how I would like to play. If I'm going to play
Mm-hmm.
2 players, I'm going to play 2 player Wingspan at
Right.
Asia, Wingspan Asia at two
Mm-hmm.
players. But I do like that you can mix and match. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to get Oceania or Europe, you can. But yeah, so my negatives, I would never play this higher than 4. I don't think I would ever play this higher than 4.
Yeah.
And then I would just know, like, if you're getting Wingspan Asia, like, it's really good. I mean, it's just 2 player Wingspan with a slight twist with that board. You're
Mm-hmm.
not getting a whole lot of extra new stuff to it. So yeah, so that would be my negatives for the game. I'll touch real quickly on the nesting box, which is the giant box that holds everything, which is really nice. You have plenty of trays, and they even give you kind of some foreshadowing if you go check out the unboxing about some future expansions like Africa, um,
Mm-hmm.
and those, so you can check that out and see what might be coming down the pipeline in the future. Um, and then with the expansions, I would say if you're thinking about Wingspan, or maybe you have Wingspan and now it's like, okay, there's 3 expansions out there. What do I want to get? I don't necessarily want to buy this giant box, because I don't need all of the stuff. If you're looking for a lot of variety, I would say get Wingspan Oceania, because it adds in some new abilities. It adds in the wild food, which is
The
really cool. The
nectar.
new boards, yeah, the nectar.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and But if you're just playing at 2 player, I would say get Wingspan Asia. Don't even worry about the base game. Wingspan Asia, I think, is the best. If you're just looking for something for 2 people, you're not trying to get everything Wingspan. Wingspan Asia would be my go-to for that.
Right.
So with that being said, kind of keep that in mind. Europe is good though; it adds some new abilities as well, and a ton of birds. Like, there's just a ton of birds. So if you love birds, get them all. You know.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into my score, and I'm just going to score all together because I think it all plays very, very well. And so I'm going to give Wingspan an 8.5. And so, but just know in certain areas I would prefer one piece over the other. Like 2, I would go Wingspan Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can mix and match however you want. But that'd be me, 8.5.
Okay, for me, I would probably give it an 8.8 overall
Oh, okay,
because
nice.
I really do love the game. But yeah, I do enjoy Asia, so I think I agree with you that I would play that if it's just me and you.
Yeah, just a 2 player. I think that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so hopefully that gives you a little bit idea over everything, because there's a lot of stuff out there Wingspan right now.
Mm-hmm.
So get it, but hopefully this might give you a little bit of a guide of where to start or where to look and what might be best for you. That way you don't feel like there's just so much. Where do I start? What do I do? Kind of thing.
Right.
So hopefully this video helped. Let us know what you think of Wingspan down in the comments. And please like, comment, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you get a notification every single time we post a video. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
See ya.